Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Breadcrumbs Project. And yes, today we're kind of doing a little bit of a wrap up and of kind of everything that I've been talking about since the channel started, really. Um, this channel started as a history channel because I was seeing in the archaeological record that things were not adding up, were not matching up, and in many ways were not correct to what is in the written historical record. And so that's why I called it the Breadcrumbs Project. I feel safe enough with my education and my experience in archaeology and in history to allow the archaeology, the stones, the rocks, the rubble, the buildings to tell me their story and not that I have to read it from someone else's interpretation. And this has really helped me find personal clarity, but also to get in a lot of trouble. But what I'm finding out is that, yes, in fact, everything is related. One of the things that President Trump said when he uh, started the process to attempt to bring peace to the Middle East and to stop the war on Gaza was to stop a 3,000-year-old war, a war that had been raging for 3,000 years. And it wasn't a public war, it was a very private war, but it was intense. It was very intense. And and one of the things that's happened recently for me personally is censorship beginning to happen again in the states, and I had a very unique experience. So one of my friends had asked me, you know, what what do I think and feel about um, some of the situations that are happening in history, and I easily said, look, this is especially for the West. World War I and World War II. World War I was to separate Palestine from the Ottoman Empire and to get rid of the protections that the Middle East had with the Ottoman Empire. So that was World War I, and then World War II was an excuse to establish the nation of Israel. So to think that this has been going on for 3,000 years and um, and then and then scoff at what's been happening with um, with Gaza, the situation in Palestine, APAC here in the United States. So these things have been going on behind the scenes for many, many thousands of years. Epic battles, epic battles. So my current uh, my current understanding and feeling is that this division here, okay, the Gaelic Empire, something that I've been, but I just kind of happened upon, really, thanks to all of the uh, new efforts to push information out to the public. And I'm going to say that a lot of this stuff is coming via AI. And I went and watched a video on YouTube, and it spoke of the Gaelic Empire and this situation. No, take that back. It wasn't that. It was Facebook. It was a Facebook post. But obviously, this rendering right here, is also via AI. And so a lot of information is coming via AI. And this to me was the biggest thing that I need to know because this explains why Latin America happened. Okay. So I do not for a minute believe that there was a united Roman Empire. I believe there was a Latin Empire that was pretty big, but I believe that the Roman Empire was separate from the Gaelic Empire because one of the things that the Gaelic Empire had was its own senate, its own Praetorian Guard, its own co-councils, uh, and its own emperor basically. And I think they're always two separate empires. I don't think it happened automatically. And here is the big difference. And this is where we go right off the rails, but we cannot ignore the archaeology. We have elongated skulls people throughout the Mediterranean, Russia, and the Americas. And even the American Indians have history of them coming to the Americas and not able to do for themselves, so they always needed people to tend to them. And you can see that in the makeup of their bodies. Heads huge, and the bodies were just feeble bodies. So they existed, they coexisted during the time of the Latins and the Romans. They were here at the same time. That's just real. All right. And we also had giants. Even though the archaeological and the paleontological record does not speak of them, there is an oral history throughout Europe and the Americas of giants, of just big, strong people. So this is all connected. I think my working theory right now is where you see the yellow, the Gaelic Empire, that was giants with elongated skulls people. I think the Roman Empire had humans and giants. I think most of the emperors were giants, and I think prior to that, the elongated skull people were the rulers, as it represents in Egypt. And I think, yeah, and there's always been war on the planet. India, the Vedas, they all speak about fighting, um, and also they also speak of tribes that were or nations that were expelled, and that one of the nations expelled came to Spain and into the Celtic region. And there's some archaeology, there's some some art, some Celtic art that could speak to that. So there's still a lot to uncover. And welcome to the Breadcrumbs Project as we continue to do this. But the archaeology of um, of architecture, architectural archaeology, shows that throughout Europe there was an amazing race of building people in the Russian, in the Tatarian kingdom, and here in the western side of Europe. You look at Rome, Germany, Netherlands, and just throughout Great Britain. You just see glorious churches and some stone cities that are amazing, especially here in Spain. We have a lot of old towns, what we call old towns, that are just made of stone. And Santiago de Compostela is a great example of that. Look up Santiago, the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, and it is a glorious work of art. Glorious, glorious, glorious. So, um, yeah, a lot of history has been written and rewritten. There's a lot of truths and falsenesses that were established, and those were done to redirect people, and then redirect again. As we start to pull together our real history, we have some people to go looking for because we have a lot of elongated skulls, a lot of long skull beings. Do they still exist? That's a fair question. We had giants for a long time, long time, long, long time. Do they still exist? Because they went with uh, the Gaelic Empire, definitely took elongated skull people with them, and the giants, because the elongated skull people were throughout the Americas. And all of the architecture, all of the old buildings and churches and cathedrals have the three arches for three giant beings to walk through. That's the and that's throughout Europe. That's throughout Eastern Europe and Western Europe and the Americas. And look, if you go to the temples in in Asia, you have the same thing. You have giant doorways. So we have to accept that all these massive, wonderful, amazing buildings and all this architecture was attributable to elongated skull people, giants, and regular humans. Now, how it all really plays out and what happened and how and who, well, we just have to continue to follow the breadcrumbs, which is what I intend to do. But the story of Latin America begins right there when the Gaelic Empire completely disappears. No sign of the Senate, the Praetorian Guard, no history, nothing. It said that the Romans retook over the Gaelic Empire, and right after that is when the Roman Empire collapsed. But I don't think it collapsed. I think it just kind of did a little rewrite. So um, the elongated skull people and the giants that survived went on over to Latin America, as we can again just see here. Not there, not there, here. And this is for those who are just starting to come into the storyline right now. Um, this is where all of this started, and this is a map, and it has sailboats. So people did in fact sail over here. All right, but this map is all in Latin, and then the indigenous what would become the Aztec language, which is Natahala. And all of this writing up here is all in Latin and saying that the people on the outside basically are savage, cannibals, naked, only interested in hunting, and then obviously what was going on in these colored areas, which are the pink area is Nova Hispania and not Nueva España, which it should be if this was a Spanish colonization. It is all in Latin. And then Nova Galicia, and that's not New Gaelic. That's New Galicia, which is part of Spain. So, um, and that's not a hill I'm willing to die on. Okay, if it ends up that that is exactly 100% France, the Galicia part, fine. The only reason I base my thoughts on this is that we have Compostela here, which we have a very the most famous city here in Galicia, which is Santiago de Compostela, and then this is Nova Galicia, and then we have Guadalajara, which is another area in Spain. Um, Purificanto, uh, that is very famous also in the Spanish area. As a matter of fact, my dentist is named Purificar, Puri, Purify. So all of these names and everything that is in the yellow area is really attached to uh, to the northern part of Spain, to Galicia, and we have no French cities or anything to associate with France, but we do have plenty to associate with that northern province in Spain called Galicia. So, uh, and for me, this is just a whole lot of fun. Nobody really is interested in it. Nobody wants to change the history of it. Um, but I am enjoying seeing what I'm seeing. And the amazing thing is, I am the only person that knows so much about our true history, especially that having to do with Latin America. All right, barring any questions, today is Saturday, the 27th of December, and it is my weekend, folks. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If not, we will be signing off here very shortly. And just know that it all is related, and we're going to be following this. Everything's related in a series because we have the city of London, which was established by the Latin Romans in 46 A.D. And that's 46 A.D. Roman calendar, not 46 A.D. Gregorian calendar, because those adjustments aren't made. If it was 46 AD, 800 years ago, and it was 46 AD, 1,000 years ago, well, the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar was established by Julius Caesar. I have some words to say there down the line, but the Gregorian calendar was established in the 1700s. When the Gregorian calendar was established, it didn't go from zero. Okay, this is now the Gregorian date. No, it was all adjusted. The dates were adjusted, but the history was not. So the city of London, 46 AD, and its Roman calendar date 2779, year 2779, then that thing has been functioning for 2,700 and some 30 years. That's generations and generations and generations. And they come from the Latins. So a lot of folks would say that uh, they come from uh, some very old families. So, yes, 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 yes. We have a lot to explore, and we will do that. All right, everyone. Please have a great weekend. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And I will talk to you on Monday. Tomorrow I'm taking off. Bye.